Hello, welcome back to the channel. I know this is another video this week. This is the videos are out of control. You're making so many videos. Well, there's been lots of good stuff to make videos about. So obviously, I made the video the other day about Mount Evans and how great that was. The very next day, I went up to Weld County to try to see sort of I wouldn't say a well-known barn owl nest, but like I always say, if I was able to find it, anybody could. So I went up to see the barn owls last night, and it was a very tricky shoot, and so I thought it would maybe make a good video to go over sort of low light settings that I used last night to get the images of the owls. And I'm always hesitant to make like sort of instructional videos or settings videos because I'm not a professional photographer. It's not like, oh, well, Scott, do you use the best practices when it comes to photography? Maybe, probably not. But I do think I'm competent enough that I can make a camera, get the kind of images that I want. So, and it was also really unique last night because there were two other photographers there, and all three of us were doing completely different things to get the images. So I was really fascinated by the fact that all three of us were doing sort of different techniques to try to get the photos of the owls last night in not pitch dark, but very dark. So maybe to set the scene a little bit more. So these owls are in a burrow that is in the side of this riverbank. So when you see the photos here, you'll kind of see what I'm talking about. And they don't really get active until after sunset. So dusk at best, and then after dusk. So it's this very low light. So we're talking slow shutter speeds, some high ISOs to try to get decent images. So like I said, the three of us that were there doing photography, I had my Sony A1 with the 200 to 600. There was a guy there with the Canon R5, and he had the really nice, I think it's a 500 millimeter prime Canon lens. And then the other guy had a Nikon. He had the old D850 DSLR, and I believe the 500 Nikon telephoto. So all three of us had the different camera makers, or the big three. So that was interesting. And the guy with the Canon, man, he had a really nice setup. That was really nice. So, like I said, it was sort of, it was very tricky. And the way I kind of thought about it was, a lot of when I'm shooting at night, I'm either shooting, usually astrophotography, like meteors, or I am shooting lightning. And so I kind of was thinking similar in terms of lightning, so lightning is we're going to pick like a focused point, right? Where we're going to focus on the horizon, and we're going to do a long exposure, and we're going to hope that bolt sort of lands right where we're kind of aimed at, right? And the bolts are very fast moving, like they're there for a second and then they're gone. So I was noticing that when these owls finally did get active, and when they do come piling out of that little burrow, it's like a clown car, like just 6 of them come piling out of it, and you're just like, how many are in there? But yeah, I kind of thought of it more like lightning, where I have a focused point. Like I'm not trying to photograph them, flying around, right? I have a single focus point that I'm focused on, and that is the entrance to this little burrow. So that is one thing that I've got going for me that's positive. So I can set up, I can get focused there, and then I'm good in that regard. So how do I capture these images though? So I noticed the guy shooting the Canon was able to still, I don't know if it was just because his lens was faster, but he wasn't shooting silent. I could hear his shutter. So he was doing click, 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 like he was still doing really fast sequence of shots. And like, I couldn't do that because it was too dark. Like I was at like, third of a second exposures, like, or shutter speed. And so I just couldn't do like those quick shots like we normally would do when we shoot wildlife, in daylight. So I'm thinking maybe his lens was fast enough to be able to do that. And maybe he had his ISO cranked up like super high. So he was still able to do like, a relatively quick shutter speed, but I wasn't able to do that. So I kind of started thinking, I started thinking like lightning, right? So okay, I'm focused on one spot, just like I would be with lightning, and you know, obviously I was in manual mode, and I had my shutter speed was I was between a third of a second and like a half of a second. I think my ISO was probably started around like maybe like 3600, maybe a little bit higher, and I set my intervalometer up just like I would do with lightning, where I'm like, great, I'm just as soon as I start seeing movement of the nest where it looked like owls were coming out, I just hit go on my camera, and that way I wasn't touching the camera, so it wasn't making the lens, you know, have any blur, you know, in the shots, and yeah, I mean, granted, some shots I got were just the owl blurring as it like flew out, but a couple of times the owl kind of poked its head out and was like looking, and I got really great shots. And I basically, all I had to do was hit start, and I just basically stood there and just watched through the viewfinder and you know, let the camera do its thing. And like I said, I kind of thought about it like if I were trying to shoot lightning. So that was what I did last night. And again, the guy with the Nikon, I think he was doing like longer exposure, like single shots. And then we had the other guy who was still doing like rapid fire. And then there was kind of me in the middle who was doing, you know, slower-ish shots, but, you know, through my intervalometer. So that's what I did. And I think I got some okay shots. They are very noisy, of course. And I thought another cool thing to do in this video would be to do a live edit. So I want to kind of show how in Lightroom I can maybe try to, I don't want to say rescue a shot, but make a shot that's you know, got a bunch of noise and, you know, needs a lot of work in post to look good. So I think that's what we'll do. I will load a photo up here in Lightroom, and I will go through just sort of a quick edit and what I do to handle shots with high noise and, you know, that were shot in maybe not the most ideal circumstances. So yeah, let me bring up Photoshop and we'll do that right now. All right, so here we are in Lightroom, and I've picked out a photo that is over here. Here you can just see what kind of noise we're going to be dealing with. This is right as one of them was sort of peering out. These little owls are adorable. And I think I've got a shot here at the very end. Yeah, this is right when the first time that they kind of started getting active. So the light was a little bit better, and this guy, he just started poking his head out, looking to see, you know, if the coast is clear. But you can see this is the burrow, and this is this big river bank. The river is down below here. Actually, it's not even a river, it's a creek. So yeah, I really like this shot because I feel like the owl is sort of like just for the first time of the day peering out to make sure it's safe, and you know, leaving the comfort of his little cave here. And so I think what I would like to do is I would like to make this a vertical, and I really want to focus just on the cave here. And so that's gonna be the first thing I'm gonna do. I'm gonna trim down the selection that I want to use. So let's do this as a vertical, and I said I want to get, I think, the whole cave, and then him, yeah, with that really cautious, like, sort of look, you know, looking out into the big scary world to see if it's okay to fly away for the night. So I think that looks pretty good. So let's go ahead and focus on this. And again, this looks okay sort of from this perspective, but if we zoom in, obviously we're going to notice a lot of noise throughout the whole image here. So one of the things that I think the image, or that the noise really sort of really brings down in the image overall, is that sense of depth, right? So like if I'm looking at this owl's face right here, which I think is the most interesting feature of the owl, is this very disc circular face. With all this noise, we lose a lot of the details. So it seems very flat to me. So like I don't get any sense of depth, not only in the owl's face, like where his eyes sit, you know, how his beak and, you know, nose stick out here, like his body behind him. It all seems almost two-dimensional to me right now. So I don't like that. And a lot of that is from the noise, taking away a lot of the details. So that's something that we're going to try to restore. But let me zoom back out. The other thing I don't like, and that the noise also complicates, is that, again, I really want to bring out that the owl is peering out of this big dark cave. You know, that's his safe place, and he's very, you know, cautious about coming out. So I don't feel like the cave or the burrow here has that sense of depth either. So that's what I really want to do. So I think I'm going to focus on two things. I'm going to focus on the owl itself and really bringing out these facial features, because that's one thing I try to do in wildlife photography is it's like, what makes this animal interesting, or what makes this owl interesting? You know, it's not doing anything really particularly interesting right now. It's just kind of standing there looking out. So I really want to bring out its face because I think that's what's interesting. And then also, yeah, I really want to work on this back area of the burrow. I want this to feel a little bit darker, and I want it to have that depth. So one thing that we can do right away is, one thing I also don't like about the eyes right now is that it just seems really black right here. Like the eyes themselves don't have a lot of definition. So I know just by using Lightroom a lot that if we change our profile, I think to the Adobe standard, that might help us with just some basic depth. So that would be standard, and this is what it was. So yeah, that is great. So that really improves this area right here. And again, in the overall photo, I think it does add back a little bit more depth back there, but we're gonna work on that. So let's go through and maybe just do some general overall adjustments. So I think our exposure is okay. I might want to bring that up a little bit. And again, we're going to specifically go into the trouble areas after this. So adding a little bit of contrast might help us with our details. So maybe like that. Again, you can see these details back here are now getting sort of redefined a little bit more. The highlights, I think I'm okay with. The shadows, again, I could, if I want this to get darker, I could just bring the shadows down. But I don't want to bring the shadows down for the whole photo. I just want to focus on this. So I'm going to leave the shadows as is for now. The whites, obviously it's his face and it's the owl shit all over the cave. So I think whites I'm going to leave for now. In the blacks, if this can bring out a little bit more of the details here in the rocks, then I'm okay with bringing that up a little bit. Maybe not that much, because again, we'll focus specifically on these areas. So, you know, I think that's okay. That's definitely starting to get a little of that depth back. Again, its eyes now are a little bit more defined. They're not just a black blob. And the details in our burrow here are sort of emphasized a little bit more. So let's go down to our other features. So the texture can help us here. But again, when we make any changes on these effects, we're also going to probably bring in more noise. So that's okay, because that's a sacrifice I'm willing to make for right now. So let's add a little bit of texture. And yeah, I can already tell that's added more noise around its face. That's okay. Clarity, again, I want to be really careful with this and not go too crazy here. And then dehaze, I generally just stay away from, but I just want to see what it might do here. It is giving a little bit of shadow back there, which is what we want. So, so I think I'm actually okay with that. So, but again, yeah, there's just a lot of noise in here. Now, there is a great little noise reduction feature here, which I'm not going to use yet. I want to go in and do all of our other work here. before we start messing with noise reduction. So let's go to a mask, and I'm sure there's something I could do with like a linear gradient in here. But I think I'm just gonna brush this in instead. So let me get the brush here. And is this a good size? Yeah. So let's work on this sort of back area, the cave or the burrow. So I'm just gonna kind of brush in here. And we'll see if we can kind of get that cave to look a little bit more like what I'm wanting it to. So the first thing, the easiest thing to do would be to maybe drop the exposure a little bit, because I want the cave to look pretty dark. Like, you know, he's coming out of his safe dark cave to brave the world. That looks a little bit better. And again, we can really maybe give the contrast a little bump here. Again, that's really showing the cave to be dark. Yeah, there we go. And then the shadows we can bring down even more. And so see, now that's getting really, it's darker up at the top, and then it's sort of, I mean, you can still see the details here, but it's dark. So I like that. I almost wonder if that might be enough here. And, ooh, we can even bring our blacks down just a little bit. I don't want it to look unrealistic. Okay. I like that. I don't think there's anything else we would need to do here with that one. So now, let's do a new mask. And let's focus on just the owl in his face here. Oh man, these guys were great. And this is where I might want to do even a little bit more contrast. And this might be where I would want to go. Bring the shadows up a little bit. And then bring our blacks up here. Again, yeah, we're just redefining those eyes a little bit better, where they come out a little bit more. And they're not just sort of vague, you know, like they look better. And I don't know if I want to do anything here with texture or not. Maybe a little bit, just a little bit. Okay, and now let's zoom in and see. I like this better, but again, we're still noisy. So there's a couple things we could do. And again, this is just a super quick edit, like if you were just trying to get something turned around really fast. So we can export this out as is. I have the topaz denoise that I think I like to use better than the noise reduction in Lightroom. I might do just a little combination of both, where let me zoom in here and let's reduce some noise. That's actually pretty good. And then when we throw it into topaz, it's going to denoise and it's going to bring out some more of those details. So let's export our file here. And we will do this at full size, quality 100%. We are going to call this, oops, we want a custom name. Call this Owl1. Export. And we'll just save this to the desktop. Okay, so yeah, I will open up denoise here, and let's browse for our image. And desktop, where is our Owl1 photo? And again, I don't know. I mean, you can really go deep on these settings here. For these purposes, though, I want to go with low light, because that's obviously what we're restoring here. And you can see here is the original, and then here is our low light recovery. And again, you can really go in here and tweak these as much as you want. I might actually bring this down a little bit, and you can see the difference between the two. This actually looks great. And if we look at the cave here too, you can see how much of that detail just gets restored. Yeah, it's great. Compared to, yeah, it's really good. These plugins are great, especially for this. Like I said, I don't shoot a ton of stuff in low light, but when you do, it really gets that depth back, right? So like I said, we're looking at a pretty flat image here, and this is even after we've gone in and done lots of sort of restoration work, and now we go over here and we really get that sense of depth back. I'm good stuff. So let's go ahead and save this. We'll just call it Owl1 final edit. Save. Does its thing. And oh, photos. Yeah, sure. Let's open in photos. And here's our image. Looks great. And yeah, I will take that all day, considering what we shot or the conditions that we were in. It's very good. So I would be happy with that. In fact, I am very happy with that. So but yeah, that's kind of a way to go in and save low light, high noise images. You know, you can do some pretty good stuff in Lightroom, and I mean, yeah, looks really sharp. So yeah, that is the edit. I'm sure I probably made many editing faux pas mistakes, but yeah, I like what we came up with. So anyways, that is I think the end of the video. So thanks for watching again, and I'll put all my final edits up here at the end. I did shoot a little bit of video, and I was watching it back as I was shooting it, and it was pointless. There was no reason to shoot video. It was not usable at all. So anyways, thanks for watching, and yeah, we will be doing the Alaska preview video coming up here probably on Thursday. So look for that then, and yeah, until the next time. Thanks for watching. Bye.